The courtroom was unusually crowded that morning. Ceiling fans turned lazily, stirring the heavy summer air, while people whispered in the back rows. Everyone had come to witness the trial of a poor factory worker accused of stealing expensive machinery from his wealthy employer. But the real reason for the excitement wasn't the worker. It was the boy standing beside him. He couldn't have been more than 16. His school shirt was slightly wrinkled, his hair combed, but not perfectly. He looked like someone who should have been sitting in a classroom, not standing in a courtroom. Yet here he was, clutching a stack of papers, his face calm in the sea of curious stares. The judge entered. Everyone rose. Once seated, the judge's sharp eyes fell on the teenager. He leaned forward, lips curling into a mocking smile. "Son, this is not your playground. Do you even understand where you are? This is a court of law, not a debate competition." The courtroom chuckled. Lawyers smirked, a few clerks laughed outright, but the boy didn't flinch. His gaze was steady, almost unsettlingly calm for someone his age. "With respect, Your Honor," he said in a clear, even tone, "this is indeed a court of law, and the law says every man has the right to representation. My uncle cannot afford a lawyer, and the system has given him none. So today I stand for him." The judge raised an eyebrow. "You represent him? Do you even know the meaning of cross-examination?" A faint smile tugged at the boy's lips. "Yes, Your Honor. Would you like me to demonstrate?" The laughter died down. Something in his confidence shifted the mood. The prosecution called their first witness, a security guard from the factory. A tall man with a stiff uniform, he walked confidently to the stand, certain he would bury the poor worker with his testimony. The prosecutor began. "Did you see the accused inside the factory on the night of the theft?" "Yes," the guard said firmly. "I saw him carrying equipment out of the warehouse." The prosecutor smiled. "Easy victory." But then the boy approached. Papers in hand, voice steady. "Sir, you've worked at the factory how long?" 8 years, the guard replied. "In those 8 years, how many thefts occurred?" The guard blinked. "None." "So in 8 years, not a single theft, until the very night my uncle was alone in the building?" The guard shifted uncomfortably. "That's correct. And you claim you saw him carrying a piece of machinery?" "Yes." "Can you describe it? Its size, its weight, its model?" The guard stammered. "It was some kind of box." "Some kind of box?" The boy repeated, letting the words hang in the air. "So you don't know what it was, how heavy it was, or even whether it could fit through the door?" The courtroom stirred. The witness swallowed hard, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The judge, who had been amused minutes earlier, now leaned forward, intrigued. By the time the boy finished, the guard's testimony was shredded to pieces. As the session ended for the day, murmurs filled the courtroom. People no longer saw a clueless teenager. They saw a mystery. Who was this boy? How did he know how to question like a seasoned lawyer? The prosecutor muttered under his breath, clearly rattled. The judge, packing his notes, glanced at the boy one last time and said with a smirk, though less certain than before, "Impressive little act. But tomorrow, the real evidence will bury your uncle." The boy bowed slightly. "Then tomorrow, Your Honor, the truth will bury the lies." The judge froze. For the first time, he felt unsettled by a child. The crowd left buzzing with anticipation. Tomorrow would decide everything. The next day, the courtroom overflowed. People squeezed into seats. Reporters lined the back. Cameras waiting to capture the teenage lawyer. Even the judge entered with more seriousness than before. The prosecutor wasted no time. He raised a folder triumphantly. "Your Honor, the defense has had its fun. Today we present undeniable proof. Security camera footage shows the defendant inside the warehouse on the night of the theft." The footage played on a screen. A blurry figure appeared, wearing clothes resembling the workers. He entered the warehouse, then exited minutes later with what looked like a box. "There it is," the prosecutor said confidently. "Clear evidence." The factory worker dropped his head, tears forming in his eyes. His fate seemed sealed, but the boy stepped forward, calm, composed. "Permission to examine the footage?" he asked. The judge nodded. The boy stared at the footage. "Prosecution, what time was this recorded?" "Midnight," came the reply. "And the security system, who maintains it?" "The factory management." The boy raised a brow. Is it also true that the system had been reported faulty 1 week prior? The prosecutor stiffened. That's irrelevant. On the contrary, the boy said firmly, it's critical, because this footage is not continuous. He pointed at the screen. Notice the timestamp. It jumps from 12:03 to 12:10, 7 minutes are missing. Why? What happened in those 7 minutes? The crowd erupted in murmurs. The judge frowned, leaning closer. He's right. Why is the footage incomplete? The prosecutor stammered. It must be a technical issue. The boy smiled faintly. Or perhaps intentional manipulation. Then he pulled out his own folder. Your Honor, I present an internal email between the factory manager and the businessman, dated 1 day before the theft. In this email, they discuss staging a fake robbery to cover up embezzled funds and pinning it on my uncle. The courtroom gasped. The judge's gavel slammed down. Silence. He turned to the boy. Where did you get this? The boy looked him in the eye. From the same server the prosecution accessed for their footage. Only unlike them, I knew how to recover deleted files. The prosecutor turned pale. The businessman at the plaintiff's table began to sweat. The judge asked, almost whispering, Who are you, boy? The boy straightened. His voice was steady but filled with quiet fire. I am no ordinary boy. I have studied law since I was 12. I've read every case I could get my hands on. I've memorized legal procedures and precedents. And alongside that, I trained in cybersecurity. So don't judge me by my age, Your Honor. Judge me by the truth I've brought to this court. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. The prosecutor tried to protest, but the evidence was undeniable. Experts confirmed the email's authenticity. The businessman's fraud was exposed. The factory worker was declared innocent. The judge turned to the boy, no longer mocking but respectful. Son, I owe you an apology. Yesterday I laughed at you. Today you've reminded us all that justice has no age. It belongs to those brave enough to fight for it. Applause filled the courtroom. The uncle embraced his nephew, tears streaming. You saved me, my boy. You saved my life. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed the teenager, thrusting microphones in his face. But his words weren't about himself. My uncle almost lost everything, not because of what he did, but because people assumed the powerful must be right. That's the danger of silence. If we don't question injustice, lies become truth. Remember, no one is too young, too poor, or too small to stand for what's right. The crowd went quiet. His words carried more weight than any headline, and that is the real heart of this story. Too often, we believe we are powerless against corruption, bullies, or systems built against us. But courage doesn't wait for age, status, or wealth. Courage begins when someone, anyone, dares to say, this is wrong, and I will not stay silent. So let this story be a reminder. If this moved you, share it. Tell it. Carry its lesson. And most importantly, when you see injustice in your own life, don't turn away. Be the voice that stands for truth. Because sometimes, the smallest voice in the room can shake the foundations of power.